As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission, I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain, keep on working, open curtains. Haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up.
Listening to the Tom Ficklin Show on WNHH-LP 103.5 FM, your home for community radio.
Good morning, good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody this morning. First Friday of the month, April 1st. And we have some distinguished guests on today that's going to help me with this discussion of talking about community development. We're very interested in the project that these gentlemen are involved in. And so we're going to get right into the discussion. I'm going to allow them first to introduce themselves, tell them a little bit about themselves. And then after that, we will get right into the discussion. So I'm going to go first to Paul. Paul, give them a little introduction to yourself and some of the things you're involved in and, you know, who you are in our community.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. Paul McCraven. I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Conncorp, which is the organization that's going to be redeveloping the Dixwell Plaza. I've been in the community for over 30 years, working in the community. I spent a long time in banking, Haven Savings Bank, First Niagara, New Alliance, and ran the community development side of that bank and did a lot of the philanthropy for the bank. So I got to know a lot about the community and the organizations that have been doing work in the community, trying to help support that. And so this has really been a blessing to be able to shift from that banking career to actually doing something as productive as this. Is really, we used to fund a lot of things, but now we're actually building something. So it's really pleased to be a part of this organization that's trying to do this project.
Thank you, Paul.
Yeah.
And Eric, we'll allow you to introduce yourself and tell a little bit about yourself.
Good morning all. And Maurice, thank you for having Paul and I on. My name is Eric Clemens. I'm the CEO of Conncorp, Connecticut Community Outreach Revitalization Program. I've been in this role for about a year. Prior to Conncorp, I was founding CEO of CONCAT, Connecticut Center for Arts and Technology, which is based in Science Park, and had other various roles before that, leading another organization here in New Haven, and have been immersed in the community since moving to New Haven, quite frankly, and just very happy to be able to talk about and give voice to the very things that we're doing and also what we care about, knowing full well that you and others care about them deeply. So I'm happy to be here.
Thank you, gentlemen, this morning. Once again, I want to make sure we give credit to Tom Ficklin has allowed me to do these shows and be a little more deeper into the community about some of the concerns and some of what we call real talk that happens in our local community. So I just want to start out. When was the concept of the project thought of, and how did it kind of come about? So whoever would want to take that one, that question.
Well, I'll take that. The idea of Conncorp, not the project, was conceived when I was running CONCAT, and after about 7 years of running it, as I mentioned, I ran it for a decade, and realized that we had trained. We have workforce development training for adults in New Haven and around New Haven, and mostly folks who are living in poverty, usually unemployed and underemployed. And after about 7 years, I realized that we had trained hundreds of adults who are now gainfully employed and thinking deeply and differently about life in their community, and didn't want them to be the working poor. And so the question was, what next iteration of impact could we make, especially for those hundreds of folks who have gone through CONCAT's programs, who are thinking about life differently, who have a deep sense of hope now where they didn't before, and see life differently. And so my board chair and I, Carlton Highsmith, got together and thought all right, well, let's look at economic development. If in fact those folks want to own a home, if in fact they're entrepreneurial, right? Let's create a situation where we create a situation for them. And so we started working on this idea of Conncorp and had our sights set on the Dixwell neighborhood and or New Hallville. And at the same time, Paul McCraven, who you'll hear from in a minute, was leaving First Niagara. He's retiring from First Niagara Bank and is a founding board member of Conncorp. And so it just made sense. It was logical that, given the fact that the community loved Paul, right, not only as a banker, but as a human being, that he would come and join us in this endeavor to create another iteration of impact that is birthed from Conncorp. And so our first building was the old Seatown building, which I think you know well, Mark.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we identified that building first because we knew somebody who knew the owner, okay, and knew the owner was looking to sell the building. And so we met with the owner who was in Miami at the time. He mm-hmm. actually flew up to meet with us. He flew up to meet with us not because he just wanted to sell the building. He wanted mm-hmm. to know who he was selling the building to. Exactly. And the fact that we were immersed in the community, we talked about our ideas and the vision that we had for Dixwell as it relates to addressing poverty in that community. And so he sold us the building. And then Paul wrote a quite robust property acquisition strategy, and he started working on that strategy. And I'll hand it over to Paul after now.
Okay, Paul. Can you continue that thought, Paul?
This meeting is being...
Hello?
Go ahead, Paul.
Okay, yep. As Eric mentioned, we start off with buying the Seatown building, and we were going to just develop that building. And we were going to put Conncorp Training Center there and a daycare. And pretty much those are the two tenants. We thought, and probably a coffee house on the first floor. And as we started, looking at our vision for Conncorp, but also looking at the needs of the community. And one of the things that Eric did very successfully early on was he did a study of all the needs in Dixwell and New Hallville, and then sort of a community index is what we called it. And a lot of things were identified in that study, as you could imagine, in terms of everything from health, education, home ownership, housing, just a variety of needs that we could see that the community was sort of needed to improve it. And so, based on that, we just kind of looked at, what can we do to have a bigger impact? And then we said, it didn't make sense just to do the Seatown building. That would just be one building in the midst of a lot of other decay and blight. And so that's when we really came up with the vision that let's develop the whole plaza over again. That there's enough space there. It's 7.5 acres. It's it's located in a great location, not only being in the heart of Dixwell, the heart of the Black community, basically in New Haven, but also a few blocks down from Broadway and Yale. I mean, that's not very walkable, and that that this area could be commercially viable, as well as a place that that people want to live. So we decided to try to acquire all the buildings in the plaza, okay, including the Elks building on the corner of Webster Street. Okay. And so that was quite a journey trying to acquire all those properties. It was a challenge because there was a variety of owners, as you might recall. There was a church located there. There was some other organizations that have been there a long time. But we went one by one and were able to successfully acquire the whole parcel, 7.5 acres. And so that left us in a tremendous position to redevelop that, given all the community input and research we had done on what's needed in the community.
So I would ask you gentlemen in that regards, that was an accomplishment. It had a process that you were able to explain, which we're very appreciative of. But what in that whole process, what were some of the community concerns? Because you did mention Paul, you talked about a church there, longstanding church, Elks, a longstanding building that's been in our community. What were some of the community concerns that you had to address? And I'm sure some of the community meetings that you had in reference to taking on such a big project.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest overall concern was people just wanted to make sure that this was something that was going to be for the community and benefit the community. And people talked a lot about jobs, safety, education, training, and so these are a lot of things we did this project for the community. We're doing it for the community, and so for us, it was a matter of communication. So we've held several meetings. We had one meeting at the Elks. I think we had a couple at the library as well. And no idea was to let people know that we were here. One, we wanted to hear their ideas, but secondly, that we were doing this project to improve the neighborhood and provide a whole new we think it's transformative level of opportunities and development for the community. And
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, sorry. I think what's really important, it's a community-centered design, Maurice, right? As Paul mentioned, one, we did a community index to get real data on what has happened in this community over the past couple of years, because we want to be very thoughtful about our implementation, whatever it is that we were visioning. Secondly, we went to every community meeting we could attend, right? Here, what were the yearnings for the community? What were the needs and the wants of the community? And so what you see in the vision and also in the imagery is really our response to what we heard. Like housing, arts and culture, the revival of arts and culture. As you know, Dixwell community was a huge jazz place, arts mecca. Folks were yearning for that revival.
Okay.
Housing, safety, healthy food options, early childhood. All of those things are what we heard the community said they wanted and needed. And so again, this is really a community-centered development, right? We did not just go to Dixwell and say, we want Dixwell to have this, we want to build this. We're community developers, meaning that, we're not making any more money than what we would make in our salary. Right? The return on investment is advancing the mission of Conncorp and ensuring that we deliver beauty, dignity, and utility to Dixwell community with the idea that delivering those things will aggressively address poverty, and a poverty that has languished in that community for more than 60, 70 years.
And Aaron, you touched on something that's very vital, and it's something that I work on so much in this community because of the way people communicate is different. So we're trying to streamline processes to where the communication, just like as you deliver the explanation that I never would have heard any other time. And I've been around and I've heard different people talk about it, and different people had questions, but the way you explained it really helped because you guys aren't making any more money in the positions that you have from putting together a project like this that's going to benefit the community. You're giving an opportunity for rental space and different things that's going to happen in it. And you have been transparent to the community, even though there may be some individuals who really didn't come and listen to the information. And what happens in community is you get people who, I know what's happening in New Haven because they're seeing a lot of apartments go up that are high priced apartments. People are saying, they're going to be moving the urban people out of the local community in New Haven, and they're going to turn it into a college town to where no one who is low income will be able to stay here anymore. And so I've heard a lot of that conversation around when you guys were embarking on this project. And that's the type of things why we wanted you here on the show this morning, to be able to explain that so our community could have some comfort that you guys are here as a partner. You're not here to take over and chase other people away. And I know sometimes that comes up when people see development and they don't understand how they can be involved. And so as a community, how can they get more involved, or what is the communication contacts you guys have, the websites or anything that they can really get involved and understand fully what's going
on? You want me to take that, Paul, or you want to take it?
Sure. Good. You can do it.
I mean, one, it's been quite beautiful doing this, Maurice, right? I'll answer your question in a minute. And secondly, it has been as beautiful as it has been. It has been equally difficult because of what you just mentioned, right? Innuendo, conjecture, and those types of things. And I understand, right, the lack of trust, right? And that is warranted because things have not happened for Dixwell, they've happened to Dixwell.
That's right.
And I understand that, and I had to come to understand that. We've been accused of being agents of Yale, and we're doing all these things on behalf of Yale University and other folks who are not indigenous to the community, right? Which really is bothersome in some way because it's quite almost disrespectful to hear that Black folks can't do something that is so transformative without the aid of Yale or any type of other university or institution, right? There are, and it's no secret to anyone that this entire team, right? Myself, Paul, Carlton, Anna, Genevieve Walker, who runs Concat, is all Black, working on behalf of this Black historic community, right? That's not lost on anybody. And so, but we got through it. And you know how we got through it? By dealing with it, by answering questions, by having meetings. By having meetings, I'll speak for myself, I didn't want to have.
Paul agrees, right?
And I'm not even talking about the big 200, 300 people meetings. I'm talking about, those 2 or 3 people, who you have to talk with. And so people can get in touch with me. My email is eclemons, ECLEMONS at Conncorp, CONNCORP.com. And if they have any questions or want to meet with me, I readily, and Paul will attest to this, I readily meet with people. Right now, we are meeting with churches on Webster Street. There are 3 churches whose parking, they park at the Elks, whose parking is going to be compromised because we are building on that parking lot. And so we've been meeting with those 3 churches, which has been great because I got a chance to know the beautiful people who are in those churches and run those churches. And I'm trying to figure out a compromise and a solution to their parking. And I think I have, and so I'll know in the next week or so. But I will readily meet with folks. Paul will readily meet with folks to talk about what we're doing and why we're doing it. Because why we're doing it, I think, is more important than what we're doing.
I got you. Paul, can you talk to the fact that as we talk about community development, we all know the first part of development is funding. And you are as an individual I've known for years, is a guru, what we call a guru in that department. So as some of the young developers and some that are going to listen to this particular show and some of the people that's gathering in different sectors of our community thinking about development, what are some of the processes in reference to funding and some tips you can give them in reference to trying to do similar projects or even smaller projects in the same vein?
Yeah, I mean, I think, the good news right now, there's a lot of money out there looking for a home. But people are going to invest in sound, well thought out projects that are viable in terms of sustainability, and provide some type of return on capital. And so, I would just encourage people to follow their dreams and their visions right now. If they have come up with a plan. If there's a building or they want to get into housing side, and a lot of people now are looking at buying multifamily housing or 2-family, 3-family houses and renovating those houses and starting that way. There's a lot of resources at the state, at the city, to help support that type of activity. There's there's several, foundations as well that work in the housing arena. I would encourage people to do, and the banks have a obligation to help in this regard as well. They have a Community Reinvestment Act requirement that really it makes them have to loan and invest, particularly in low and moderate income areas. So always that's another resource as well. So just in general, I just think it's a great time for people to try to invest in real estate.
And there'll be another topic that'll come up along you guys' timeline with the construction, and how do you look forward to that opportunity to be able to employ individuals in the local community?
Yeah, I'll take that. I mean, right now we've hired a construction manager that's going to be working with us. This company called Skanska. And we chose them particularly because of their presentation to us, and we were totally focused on what their commitment was to hiring local and hiring, Black entrepreneurs and Black subcontractors, and they came well prepared with specific ideas of how we're going to maximize this project. We really see this as a launch pin for hopefully helping to further grow some Black contractors even further than they are now. It's a big enough project that we think that we can make an incremental sort of change in the landscape here in terms of opportunity for people. And so we're on the line. We're totally committed to get this done. So pretty shortly, right now, in sort of in our timeline. Right now, we just finished schematic designs, and we're going to be going into construction drawings, and then probably in the next 6 months or so, we'll be really going out to bid for a lot of these trades. But in the meantime, we're going to be having a lot of workshops and meetings, pre-meetings, to get people up to speed so that they can be prepared when we're ready to go.
Now, how will that information be given out, Eric, for communications?
Once it's ready, we're actually working with Skanska, who is our construction manager, as Paul mentioned, as well as New Haven Works.
Okay.
Right. You look in our DLDA with the city, New Haven Works is in there for job fairs. So we're working with them now, talking with them to put together job fairs that will lead up to demolition.
Okay.
Right? And we're ready. We will definitely disseminate all that information to whoever wants it and needs it. Probably through us and the city, Maurice.
Okay.
City. Yeah.
And at that time, I definitely will let you guys know you can be invited back on the show to go over some of those things. I think that's going to be very vital and important, that we want people in the community to be able to get that information. We would be able to do anything from putting it up on the screen if it's New Haven Works, is who you guys are going through, whoever it is, that we just want to make sure that information gets out to the community in a very efficient way and be very helpful to you guys in reference to that.
Great. Yeah, I was just going to mention also, Maurice, we do have a website, Conncorp.org, and on that website, we'll be putting all of the information on the project as well. We call the project Concat Place on Dixwell. So if you go to our website, that'll be the tab. And there's also a tab for contacting us and for leaving any kind of information or questions you may have as well. So that'll be another resource for people.
And as being an example of a organization that's working together here in the community, just want to hear a little bit about the incubator program, which I read a little bit on it, but just want a little clarity on it, because we know that is very important as we try to train other entrepreneurs in our community. As Paul said, we want people to follow their dreams, especially those who come from our community. We don't want the young people to feel like they're trapped into just a few ideas of what a successful career would look like, but being entrepreneurs is what we're pushing in our community. So could you guys talk a little bit about the incubator program?
You want that, Paul? I can add in.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks, Maurice. And Eric clearly has some things to add based on the work he's been doing on an economic justice fund that we created, and I'll let him talk a little bit about that. But yeah, so we're really excited about having acquired a building about a year ago. It's on 496 New Hall Street. We call it the lab at Conncorp. It's about a 43,000 square foot building, the incubator building, so it's got multi-tenant layout where we actually have some shared office services, technical assistance, and flexible leases to help people grow their companies. We really are focusing it on minority-owned companies and Black-owned companies in the community. We think that's where the need is, and that's our mission. And so we're early on, but we've got some exciting companies in there already that are doing really well. We basically have really determined that entrepreneurship is something that our community, the Black community, really needs to embrace. The way to own something and, like you said, follow your own dream. Something that you can control. I mean, one of the big challenges I think for our community has been capital and startup capital. That's really been the biggest hurdle. So one of the things that we've been trying to do is figure out how to help people get access to that startup capital. So in that spirit, one of the things we did was we created a fund called the Economic Justice Fund. Maybe I'll have Eric talk a little bit about that and sort of how we've used that thus far.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, so we believe, one, Carlton Highsmith always says, and him being the preeminent Black entrepreneur in the state of Connecticut, in my opinion, he always says entrepreneurship is the great equalizer, right? Also, I believe that entrepreneurship creates freedom, right? And freedom in a lot of ways, very much like what Paul said, freedom to dream and freedom to hope and to aspire. And then that freedom then gets passed on to generations. So it's really important to think about it that way. As Paul mentioned, we started the Economic Justice Fund because we knew that Black businesses all over the country, at least 40 to 50%, were shuttering during the pandemic. And we had set up a crisis fund originally to help folks in New Hallville and Dixwell. We were giving out $400 gift cards. We had raised a good sum of money. We raised about almost $700,000 to give out $400 gift cards. And we teamed with the Housing Authority, with Karen Du Bois Walton and her team, as well as Nina Silva of Dixwell Management Team, as well as Kim Harris of New Hallville Management Team. And every week we gave out debit cards to folks that they identified who were in deep need in their communities. And then we then said, all right, let's play the long game, knowing that Black businesses are the heart of our community, with also churches. And we said, all right, we'll take some money, play the long game, and set up a fund for Black businesses in New Haven. And so we raised about $225,000, $230,000. That money was matched by the state. And Mike Harris's, who works in New Haven, I can't remember his office, Paul. But Mike Harris with CT Next matched the money that we had for the purpose of consultancies or grantees or Black businesses. And so we were able to give out about $150,000 in grants and hired Black consultants to work with the grantees on their business models to fill in the gaps, whether it be communication, whether it be insurance. So we had Karen Bellamy, who was a consultant, who owns an insurance company. You may know her, Maurice.
Yes.
Mercer Clay, who has a journalism and communications business, very popular, the Narrative Project. They're working with grantees on their communications. Finances, Larsina Wynn was a consultant for businesses. So all these existing Black businesses were consultants to these grantees that were Black entrepreneurs. And now we're moving into, we're still going to be giving grants away. We have another $120,000 coming to give out to Black businesses. But we're also moving, I'm working now with the Quinnipiac School of Business, and we're going to start our Adult Entrepreneurship Leadership Academy at the lab at Conncorp. And so the dean of the School of Business at Quinnipiac, Holly Rader, the provost, Deb Leibowitz, President Judy Olean, as well as myself, Aya Beckel Swanson, who is our executive director at the lab, Professor Tuvana Ray and Carlton Highsmith have all come together to create a program for these existing grantees and even for those folks who applied for a grant and did not receive one. And we'll have a Saturday Academy. The curriculum is almost done. We just won an award from the federal government. So we have almost $500,000 to start that process, to start that program. We'll be starting it probably in September of this year. And it will be our first adult entrepreneurship academy for Black and brown entrepreneurs in New Haven.
Great, that sounds wonderful. As I sit here, not amazed at what you guys have put together, but just the thought of expressing and getting it out to our community. We touched on something that was very vital in the beginning was we know that for 60 to 70 years, there's been a lack of trust in this community because what has happened in this community. And so it's natural when you hear things, I think sometimes people get it as, oh, it's too good to be true. But as you sit here this morning and you guys are explaining, I'm at all to say that you had a well thought out plan that had the community in the whole development of the middle of the plan and to be the succession of the plan. And that's something that we don't get in this area. So probably why there was some, little thoughts of a person thinking how true it is or how good this could be. And now as I'm seeing and hearing you guys unfold it, it almost makes me feel as though, what more can I do and help getting your message out, getting out the different things that's available to this community through this particular project and your fine organization that you have, because these are the same things that I'm starting to do with a small group of individuals in our community to start to put together economic plans that include the community. Because we're so used to things being a top-down approach that we want it to be a bottom-up approach of understanding that we, the people, are the resource.
That's right.
It's good as we know people like Paul and others who understand finances and can help these young entrepreneurs and individuals understand the things they need to do to be, in the space they need to be in. But the thought is that we always understand that it's the people that can drive these great programs that you guys are able to develop. It's the people. It's having the good people on your team. It's having those people explain to the community what's going on and reaching out. And so we are very delighted that we were able to have you guys up here today and to explain the things you have explained. I'm sure has answered a lot of questions that people have had on their mind. And as I was explaining to Paul that this show gets repeated on the radio station a couple times out of the week. And it also gets archived. So at any time you need to utilize this in front of a group to kind of explain, kind of what's going on, this is a great, opportunity for you to utilize it in your marketing schemes and your marketing development of letting people know exactly, because I just believe that there's so many people I know of. I always kind of look at it like this, Eric and Paul. I'm around the community all the time. And I feel bad if somebody asks me something, I don't have the information and I can't know everything. We all know that, right? But because of being familiar, people feel like, oh, okay, let me ask Maurice. I know he would know, or what's going on with this project. I know he would know. And I wanted everybody to know that I didn't know everything. I know the people and the players involved, and I trust the type of people and the characters that they have, that they would present something that is very beneficial for our community. But I said what I could do, though, is I could invite them up on the show and we can ask them to be able to explain. I think you guys have done a wonderful job explaining, how involved you are, making sure that the community is going to be in this project, how it's set up for success for not only just this particular project, but future project, and being able through the incubator incubator to help develop young entrepreneurship. Because one thing I didn't know and I learned is I can't pass my nice Yale job down to my daughter. So I have to be involved in things that's going to help her to develop and actually wanting her to have her own business. And that's one thing that we don't do much as a great asset in our communities, is develop other entrepreneurs with ideas to be able to do the things that they had in their minds. So we have about 10 more minutes, and I want to kind of close out with a reaffirmation of the things you said, and just kind of wrapping it up so that people kind of get the concept of what you guys are here for. And you're here for the long haul. It's not a dip into the community for 10, 15 years and then you won't see you guys. You guys are here to make sure this community becomes vibrant again as it was back in the days. And so you got everybody just take about 5 minutes to kind of wrap up what you think is the best thought we want to make sure that the listening audience gets from this discussion today. Just basically as a recap.
Why don't I go first, and Eric can close it out.
Okay.
All right. But yeah, I think really, Maurice, really appreciate the opportunity to be on the show today. And I think one of the things that we've always wanted to communicate was that our project on Dixwell, as important as it is, it's just one of our projects. I mean, we look at Conncorp, and I give a lot of credit to my brother Eric over there, who really cares about this community, cares about the Black community particularly, that we developed something that was going to be transformative. It's going to be like an economic engine for the community. We want something that's going to last a while and it's going to grow. And so we're involved in more than just that the Concat place on Dixwell. We're doing housing. We've bought 3 houses that are going to be actually 10 units of affordable housing for the community, and we have a whole program that we're developing on the affordable housing side. We own Pedals Market, a food market, and we also have Orchid Cafe and Monterey Chicken, which are all small businesses that we own, but that we're looking to expand even greater. So we're pretty invest into the food related industries, which ties in nicely with the culinary program that Concat runs over at Science Park. And so as people graduate from there, one of the things that we want to be able to do is have them have entrepreneurial opportunities as well. And we're trying to reduce some of those barriers. The incubator was another one of our big initiatives as we were going forward. But it's great. It's because we get approached all the time with ideas, and we've got to kind of sift through those. But there's, I think people were looking for an organization that was sort of embedded in the community, that had, we've been blessed with some resources, which is great. So that's been really helpful. We've been able to have the cash to be able to move a lot of these initiatives forward. But I think that's the one of our strengths. I think we look at our organization. We feel we have like this incredible board that's supportive of us. Chaired by Carlton Highsmith, but with a variety of other people in the community that are just really, I think, just very impressive. We've got, we think, just a wonderful staff that's been developing over the years. We've grown a lot. I mean, Eric mentioned I think I was the first person that started as a consultant, and then we've grown. I don't know how many we've got now. It's probably just on the Conncorp side, we're probably close to 20 or something at this point. But yeah, so we're over 20. So we've really been making a lot of strides as well on that regard. And like I said, we've been really blessed with some resources to try to make all this happen. So I'll flip it over to Eric.
Thanks, Pete. And I'll just add one. I appreciate you again, Maurice and Tom, for creating a venue and a platform for us to speak about the things that we care about and the things that we are doing to hopefully diminish any level of skepticism as it relates to what we are doing and who we are, right? Because it's very easy to believe things when you don't hear something the opposite. And so I want to say thank you again for this. Secondly, as Paul mentioned me, I'm mentioning him. I mean, I work with some of the greatest, smartest, most caring people you will ever find, namely Paul McCraven, Carlton Highsmith, and the others who are our team at Conncorp, as well as Concat, right? And so I've been incredibly blessed to be with these folks every day, not only to lead, but also learn from them. I learn a ton from Paul around finance and capital formation and all these things, economics. And lastly, I would say, I'll talk about a difficulty here in what I didn't expect.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this would be not easy, but I thought it would be relatively easy because we were doing this for people that we're from, right?
Mm-hmm.
People who look like us.
Mm-hmm.
And I myself probably took folks for granted because I thought they would embrace this project because it was done on their behalf by people who come from them. And what I realized, the mistake I made, was I talked more about the project than I talked about myself.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't really care much about the project until they knew me.
Mm-hmm.
and I realized that after about a year. And so I will say that. And then secondly, it's been very difficult to get people to see themselves in what we are building.
That's right.
Right? And I never thought about that. But because of the way people have been treated in that, and because of the dreams deferred and the promises unkept, it was difficult for folks, not all, but for folks who hope every day, because hope is a powerful thing, right? That things could be better, but they didn't see themselves in what we were building because of the conditions presently and because of the promises unkept and the dreams deferred.
That's right.
And I think we're turning a corner now, not because of the project, but because this group of Black people working on behalf of Dixwell have not gone away. Right? They have continued to be with the people, talk with the people, and move forward with folks who chose to move forward with us. And now, in turn, we are now moving forward with them. And so it has been a beautiful, beautiful experience. And I am just so overwhelmed with the support and love from the support of the people and the love from the people. It outweighs and holds sway over and against a few folks who will never believe, who will never accept what we are doing, which is fine, which is absolutely fine, because I think that level of discourse is healthy. But again, I know I speak for our team at Conncorp and at Concat. We have been just absolutely overwhelmed by the love and support of Dixwell. Absolutely. And I just thank you for allowing us to speak to that more than any discourse we may have experienced, because that will always be there.
This has been a great morning for me. I think it's been a great morning for two gentlemen on the show, and also a great morning for our community as things get clarified and able to advertise and give information in a proper way. I tell people all the time, the information highway is the key to our prosperity in our communities. And as we're able to share information with individuals that help to enlighten them about maybe things that may be a myth or maybe be something that they thought was a thought. And when they get to, I think as Eric said it the best, they get to know the individuals involved, of how many years you guys have put into this community and community development, all the different facets that we think of, financial, and I've watched Paul's career over the years. He's always been someone that always gives back to our community and always is working hard on behalf of our community as well. He does as himself and his family. So we're excited. You know, this was a breath of fresh air for me this morning. I walk away most of the time from the discussions where I'm trying to figure out where did I get the personal benefit. But this morning, I do understand the personal benefit and understand the personal benefit of even the point where I might put my application in to see how I can help with marketing or something with you guys, because you guys are doing such wonderful work and we appreciate you. And I think it's always best when we have our individuals from our community able to explain in the public, you know, who they are and what they stand for and why it's important. So we did enjoy the discussion. And as I said, as future developments come up with the project and other things you guys are doing, we'd like to welcome you back so that you can explain those things and anything that me and this show can do to help promote the great work you guys are doing. You will always have that invitation from me. Yeah, we thank you guys and enjoy your wonderful Friday and have a great weekend. And hear from you guys soon.
Thank you,
Thanks.
brother.
Much appreciated.
This is Harry Droz, and you're listening to WNHHLP.
As I got another rhyme, another rhythm for y'all to listen. I'm never quitting on my mission. I'ma roll with what I'm giving. Got some ambition, this new edition, filling positions. Looking at the void in myself and feeling what's missing. Better watch the way you going, better go in the right direction. In the moment you stressing, but you gon' be counting blessings. And I know that for certain. Keep on working, open curtains, haters swerving, cause they ain't ready for your final version. Whoa. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah. Cause this is my road, lights, camera, action, I'm ready to go. I'm never gonna give up, fall down, I just gotta get up, yeah.